Coming up next, two principals from a classic group tell us the compelling story of a song that took 5 years to get to number one. In 1983, it went to the top of the charts in the UK, but it stalled at number 34 here in America. And 5 years later, a DJ played it by accident, confusing this band with another one, and people started requesting it. Other stations followed suit, and it went viral before the internet. Word of mouth took it to number one. The band tells us a story, plus much more, coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever thrown a Rubik's Cube against the wall in sheer frustration, you're going to dig this channel. Nostalgia all the time. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the bell, all that good stuff. And also, check us out on Patreon. We have more content there. So I'm excited to bring you yet another episode from our series Revelations, our most popular show on here. This is where featured artists reveal rare stories about their biggest songs and albums, give us fascinating insight about their careers, a lot of stuff you won't find anywhere else. This one's going to be cool. I love the story of this particular song. I remember when Casey Kasem talked about it on the Top 40 Countdown. Today I'm releasing an interview I did with UB40 featuring Ali Campbell, along with Astro, before he passed away. And we discussed the 80s smash, Red, Red Wine. Red, red wine. Such a cool story because it went to number one in the UK when the band originally released it in 83. It stalled at number 34 in America. And then in a crazy twist of fate, 5 years later, it went to number one in a strange viral incident that we go into in the interview. As most of you probably know, Red Red Wine was a cover. Neil Diamond wrote it. He did it when he was with a label called Bang Records. He actually left the label in '68. Red Red Wine. But they continued to release his singles, and they would do recorded instruments and different background vocals, and they'd add that to his album tracks without his permission. Bang Records did this same thing with Red Red Wine, and they released it as a single. They added a background choir without Diamond's involvement or his permission. The Neil Diamond original went to number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100, and others would also cover it before UB40 took it to number one. We discussed it in the interview. English reggae band UB40 formed in the final month of 1978 in Birmingham, England. Had major hits in the 80s and 90s. Actually have released over 50 singles in their native country alone. They've sold over 70 million records worldwide. Now, the original lineup was very diverse with musicians of English, Welsh, Irish, Jamaican, Scottish, and Yemeni parentage. Most notably known for their two chart-topping covers, Red Red Wine in '88 and Can't Help Falling in Love from '93. They first hit in the UK with their debut single, the brilliant Food for Thought. That went to number 4, but it failed to break the US charts. But their impact started to grow from other UK hits. There was singer Ali Campbell's duet with Pretenders' Chrissie Hynde, remake of Sonny and Cher's hit I Got You Babe. That actually went to number 1 in the UK. It became their first top 40 hit in the US. Yeah, that's right. Went to number 28. You got me, baby, I got you. And then 4 other top 10 hits would follow, including the aforementioned number 1 hit, Red Red Wine. That was followed by Here I Am, Come and Take Me Away, The Way You Do the Things You Do, remake of the Temptation song, and the aforementioned Can't Help Falling in Love. Their labor of love albums, bestsellers, and another cool fact, UB40 and the English ska band Madness hold the record for most weeks spent by a group in the UK singles chart during the 80s. 214 weeks each. Kind of a cool fact. The band's lineup was pretty stable for about 29 years, from March '79 to January 2008. That's when singer and frontman Ali Campbell left the band. And then keyboardist Mickey Virtue followed. And then after that, another member, the late Astro, he quit the band in November of 2013 to join with Campbell and Virtue in a new version of UB40. In 2014, legal advice was sought by the original band, now consisting of remaining co-founding members, drummer Jimmy Brown, guitarist Robin Campbell, bassist Earl Falconer, percussionist Norman Hassan, and then saxophonist Brian Travers, along with new vocalist Duncan Campbell, who is actually Ali Campbell's brother. And at one time, I remember it was rumored that Maxi Priest would be the new singer for the band. You might remember Priest had a #1 hit in the 90s with Close to You. I just wanna be close to you. So at this point, you had two groups consisting of UB40 band members, including the Campbell brothers, pitted against each other. So the one band took action against the new group containing Ali Campbell, Astro, and Virtue over usage of the band name. Because, at this point, it was being used by both groups. I think it still is. At this point, no official judgment has come down, and both use the name in different respects. The truth is, Ali Campbell is the singer on all the master hits, and Astro did all the iconic toasts. For those of you who don't know, a toast is the act of rapping, chanting, or talking in reggae. That's what they call it. Anyway, Astro did the famous toast in Red, Red Wine.
Red, red wine, you make me feel so fine.
Then on the 5th of July, 2021, it was announced that Matt Doyle, formerly of the reggae band Kyoko, would become the band's new vocalist, following Duncan Campbell's retirement due to ill health. Founding members, the saxophonist Travers died from cancer on August 22nd, 2021, and then Astro died on November 6, 2021, following a short illness. So let's get into the story of Red Red Wine from Ali and the late Astro.
Red, red wine.
Well, in 83, Labor of Love, it's interesting. That went to #1 in the UK, #8 in the US later, which is Red Red Wine. I usually like to go chronologically, and it's such a great story because that's only a few songs have ever done that, where it gets re-released in America more than 4 or 5 years later and goes to #1, went to number 34 at the beginning. But that's such a great story. That, of course, album was in the top 100 albums of the 80s. Rolling Stone chose it. Neil Diamond, of course, released it in 1968, and it went to, I think, number 62 or whatever it was.
Red, red wine.
Yeah.
Nobody was more surprised than us. We had the single by Tony Tribe, which was a ska record,
Red, red wine.
We even knew, because we did look at the back in the day, you'd have the single and you'd look at who produced it and what label it was on and who wrote it. And we saw N Diamond. We thought Neville, Negus Diamond or something. You know what I mean?
I know, I read
you
that.
Didn't have a clue that it was Neil Diamond.
Negus Diamond, that's funny.
So yeah, and the thing is that a lot of the stuff that we covered on the Labour of Love series, we thought was reggae, but they were all covers of like Neil Diamond's Red Red Wine or whatever.
When it came out in America, too, it's interesting. When it went to number 34, it's like Bob Marley. I mean, so many of those songs would have been #1 hits.
Of course. But America just didn't get reggae,
They didn't yet. They were behind the times.
American black people certainly didn't relate to Rastafari or going back to Africa or repatriation or anything, that was not in their psyche,
Yeah.
And also the fact that we were multiracial, that people in America used to say, "We love your style of rock and roll, but could you turn the bass down?" Stuff like that.
All we ever wanted to do was try and help popularize reggae music,
Yeah.
We're on the right
And
track.
that was my introduction as a white boy in Idaho, little town in Idaho, Blackfoot, Idaho. I mean, I remember hearing Red Red Wine. I used to listen to the Top 40 Countdown every week because, there's nothing to do in a small town like that.
Yep, we all did.
The potato
We all did.
capital of the world, And so I'd listen to it. And even in 83, I remember when it was at number 34. And that week, I think Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue, was at number 3. And I always thought Red Red Wine was such a better song. And I was like, I don't get that. So I was glad to see that it happened a few years later. But what was interesting about Red Red Wine is, I want to ask you, you didn't know it was Neil Diamond, and you talked about Tony Tribe. What about Peter Tedderu? Did you ever hear his version of it back in the day?
Red, red wine.
Jimmy James and the Vagabonds also did it. It was a soul cover of it back in the day.
Red wine.
few years later, because it does really well in the UK and all over the world. Red Wine is number 1 or number 2 in almost every place. And then what had happened is you guys played Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday. The week later, it was a DJ in Phoenix, Arizona that had a show, I think it was called Should Have Been, Would Have Been a Hit. Because if he'd ever get tired, I always read this in
apparently he was looking for a beat record, or the English beat in the middle in the bathroom or something, but he couldn't find it, and he just put ours on, and then this is what we were told. He got lots of phone calls.
Yeah, they were like, play it, and they put it in regular rotation, and then other radio stations followed that because they knew it was such. Because I always thought that, like, this should have been a hit. What I love about it is you're actually repping right now the red wine right there.
yeah, we've got our own red wine.
Yeah, tell me about your red wine.
Bordeaux Superior.
It is. It's a Merlot and Cabernet Franc mix. And we thought, it's 30 years. It's about time we did it,
Yeah.
We've been researching it long enough.
Yeah.
So, last Christmas we launched it at the Arts Club in London. And it went down really well. And you can get it on eminentlife.com or at ub40.org.
We'll put that up there for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's really nice, actually.
Tell me about recording it. What do you remember about recording it, especially the toast?
Well, because Red Wine was already a hit to us from when we was kids. When we was recording it, we just wanted to freshen it up, add something else to it, and
Well, we didn't want it to be ska, did we?
No.
So we made to give it a little reggae beat, because we're a reggae band.
And I was just eager to, I just loved the music itself. And, I just thought I'll try and write something.
So we stole a nursery rhyme, didn't you?
You did. And
thanks for that.
No.
Yeah, but anyway, and it worked well. Everybody's, loves it.
It's a favourite, isn't it? It's a favourite on stage.
I never liked the edit though. I always wanted the toast in it.
Thank
I
you,
love
man.
that.
Whenever
when
we
you guys
play
are singing it together, when you're singing your part and you're singing your part, I mean, that's true reggae.
We've been asked to do that on a million TV programmes, and sometimes they only want the single version.
Yeah.
And everyone, to a man, says, "Oh,
I know.
We were waiting for Astro's bit."
I know.
It didn't happen.
Even Neil Diamond has presented.
He does it in his show. He does
Yeah.
it like a reggae song now, and then he does this piece in the middle.
Red Wine, it makes me feel so good, even if the words aren't understood.
Yeah.
I love
But
it.
of course, he's never said thanks or anything
No,
to us. He's never sent us a bottle of wine. We'll send him one of ours.
He should. That's a song that nobody would have known that Neil Diamond did that song.
And like you said,
without
it
this.
had 2 lives. It went to number 1 in 83 all over the world, except for America. And 5 years later in America. So, that's why everyone knows Red Wine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then that's why people have covered it since then.
Yeah.
Because of your version.
And a lot of people sort of started calling us a covers band, and saying that, we've sold out and we only do covers. But you've got to remember, we made 28 albums. 3 of them had been
The Labour of Love franchise.
Labour of Love, so all the rest were self-penned.
Yeah.
And our biggest selling
Well,
album
and
of all
Food-
time was Promises and Lies,
Yeah.
Sold 10 million in America alone.
Well, and your originals are so, like we've already talked about, food for thought, so powerful. That's what I like about you guys. You approach it in both ways. But to remake a song and make it better than the original, that's a very tough thing to do.
You can never try and better it.
Yeah.
You can only do it justice.
What you
can
guys do, what you bring to it.
What we try and do is stay true to the melody, give it our backing, and you can do a reggae version of almost anything.
Every day's a pleasure.
We feel the love. There's a lot of love out there for us, man. So it's
is.
great. We're at a stage now where we're a heritage band,
Oh, yeah.
and like everywhere we go, people love our stuff and they know it, So it's like we're the perfect festival band, if you like, We can rock up anywhere in the world and people know the stuff,
Yeah.
You
Because we
can
had
for sure.
40 top 20 hits to choose from,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, a band is lucky if they can have one song that the world remembers, but to have so many different songs that the world remembers that still 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 years from now will still mean something to so many people. And it's meant something to me and to so many fans. So thank you so much for the music, you guys.
Big love, man. Big
Yeah.
love, you know. And it's like people say, you know, oh, you know, do we want to influence people and stuff? I would never presume that, you know, to influence anybody, but I know how I was influenced by music, by Bob Marley, you know, and by Stevie Wonder. And so, you know, it's always nice when people say that, you know, they've been influenced by our stuff. So
Absolutely.
respect.
Hey, leave us a comment about UB40 featuring Ali Campbell and the late Astro. What are your memories of the song? What do you think about Astro's iconic toast? I love it. What's your favorite track by this band? Let us know below. Let's have a good discussion. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe below so that you never miss out on our videos. We would love to have you as a part of this community. And check us out on Patreon. We have some new stuff going up there. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth.